YouTube Model Railroaders. Happens to be Wednesday, November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. You're probably wondering what I'm up to. I'm actually up to about 6'2", but that's beside the point. I'm going to stay away from some of the topics that have been going on because, to be honest, it's a nasty situation and everybody's beat it to death. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to do something that's a heck of a lot more fun. Now, there's going to be a few things in this video. The first thing is I'm actually at the point, pretty much, where I'm fairly comfortable, where I'm going to go ahead and start actually putting down some of this plywood, trying to figure out some track arrangement, and messing with things a little bit. I did talk to another buddy of mine. I think I told you all, after I talked to Sparky, and he's actually going to come over and help me hook up the electric to the railroad. I'm going to show you that a little bit later. I'm also going to show you what I did with my workbench area. I finally got electric over there. I mentioned that on Facebook. But the goofy part is last night I went ahead and finally got the first line down and realized I didn't have any more wire. All that stuff that I had from my stepfather-in-law, and I used every last bit, basically, of the electrical wire. So I still got a little bit left, but I went ahead and made a stop on the way home this evening as they let us off work early, and I picked up some more. I also picked up a 3-gang box, and I've got some other things that I'm going to be working on here over the next couple of weeks. Now, as far as what my original goal was, which was to have something running on this monstrosity by Christmas, ain't gonna happen. I'm too far behind the 8 ball now. You know, things that have come up. So, you know, it is what it is. I'll just keep on trucking and stay on track, pun intended. And hopefully, maybe after the first of the year, maybe by March, April time frame, we might actually have some sort of a representation as to what the new Boeville and Newtown is going to look like. One other topic of note, and it may come up on here, it may not, but I'll mention it. That buddy of mine that's going to help me out with the electric also helped me out another way. Apparently his wife found, I think I may have mentioned this already. If I did, fine. If not, then anybody who hasn't seen it yet, they can, you can comment on it. His wife found a whole bunch of HO scale stuff. Some of it is in pretty decent shape. Some of it isn't. Some of it is most of it is some really unique stuff. I'm going to make him an offer on the stuff that I believe is things that I'm interested in. He's got duplicates and things of that nature. You know, I only need one, so we'll probably end up, you know, maybe selling off the rest of it. But I'm waiting for him to get a hold of me to talk to me and let him know what exactly it is that we're up to and where we're at with it before I put anything up on Facebook or YouTube, because I don't want to get ahead of myself or too far ahead of myself. He may decide he wants it all back. Oh, all right, c'est la vie. If he does, that's fine too. If he decides he doesn't want any of it, then we're going to have to work something out and we'll deal with that later. But at any rate, so what I was actually in the process of doing before I decided, maybe I better turn on the camera, is I'm actually just got finished and I was in the process of looking for I'm going to probably be getting rid of this. This is 18-inch radius. I don't think I'm going to need a whole lot of that. Needless to say, that's terminal tracks. I was looking for something specific. And of course, looks like it might be it. Straight track. So I'd already ripped up a couple of sections here. Obviously this was not one of them. Yeah, I know. I can bring over the soldering gun and desolder the stuff and, you know, so on and so forth. That's fine. I'm not going there right now. This section here was an add-on underneath of Wakert Hill. And as you can see, this section kind of got a little beat up. But that's fine. And I just had these 18-inch radius, or these partial 18s to pull up. Yeah, I was going to make this video somewhat short because I've got to go upstairs here in a little bit and start cooking for tomorrow. Wife and I are in charge of a couple of dishes, so I'm going to be going upstairs to help her here in a little bit. But since I had 5 minutes to myself, I figured I'd come down here and goof off for a little bit. I have to, well, I've got the 18-inch radius box down there. I'll have to go grab that. But this little dude is now done. So, well, I'm going to stop it here, not to bore everybody. I'll be back. All right, folks. It is now Saturday, November the 30th. 2019, and as you can see that I was toying around with some things here. I've actually got the first two corners in. These here will lead into what will be the hidden yard for Richmond and Harrisburg. Obviously, where the boxes are sitting right now is where the hidden yards will be. I'm still trying to figure a few things out here, but I figured since I was tearing up track, I'd go ahead and actually lay some track. So, like I said, as you can see, I may have gotten ahead of myself, but I wanted to find out what this was going to look like. So, there we are. I'm going to get into something else here now. Give me a minute. I know there's been an awful lot of talk about the wiring that I'm doing and so on and so forth, and really, what are you thinking? Well, after talking to Sparky, as you all know, I went ahead and made a change in plans, and here is the beginnings of that change in plans. I've got on the floor here are the circuits for the building lights, the track power, and the street lighting, to which it's kind of a misnomer because really in reality I'm going to be mixing the street light and the building light circuits, and I'll explain that one maybe in another vlog, but more I thought about it, I decided I was going to do something a little different. Anyway, this might be a bit tough to see. Let me see if I can find the flashlight. And, alright, so this is the back side of the bar, which is now going to be affectionately known as the dispatcher station. There's the wiring that's going to the track power, the building lights, and the street lights. And if you notice, this gray wire that's hanging here, that's for the overhead. And there's a reason why it stops right there. That's because as the dispatcher, you're going to be in charge of the daytime and nighttime lighting. I haven't put that in here yet. That is something I'm going to be working on. Anyway, so this follows the bar all the way down into that neat little hole there in the corner. And this is where things got interesting. Getting through here was not a problem. However, coming up, that actually is removable, but coming up this column, that was a pain. And then if you notice, there's a hatch there that's been there. That's actually where the wiring goes up into the ceiling and goes over into the electrical room, which is where we're going to head next. Maybe give me a minute. It's dark in here. There's light. Let there be light. Okay, so from that hatch, I gotta fix that hatch. I'm not sure why it doesn't want to stay up there now. And I think it's because the spring. I had issues with that before. I think the spring's shot. Anyway, so there's the wiring, and it comes over into the breaker room, and it just kind of hangs against the wall. The reason being is, well, let me go ahead and we'll get into that when I get over to the desk. Almost forgot, before I sit down at my desk, I've got a bright hello idea. Yeah, my other workbench is a mess as well, but I've got an LED shop light in here, and I finally went ahead and ran electric for my workbench in here so I can start doing some work eventually. Oh, there's the ugly sucker. Hey. Oh, man. Anyway, I finally got that electric run to the electrical panel. And the reason why it stops, there's two things. The buddy of mine that's going to help me out with that down here is, he brought up a point, and I actually looked into it and was like, no. He had talked about running GCFI breakers. I'm not going to do that. They're way too expensive. I mean, we're talking almost $45 to $50 a shot. For what I need. And I'm not, no, my wife would have my rear end if I did that. So what I'm going to do instead is I've actually got 5 GCFI outlets that I'm going to replace 5 of the standard outlets with on the layout itself, so I have ground fault interruption. Since it is in the basement, I get it, safety, hold 9 yards, even though this thing is 30-some inches off the floor. If I get that much water down here, boy, we got a real problem. Knock on wood, I hope it never happens. I do have 2 sump pumps in here, so... Anyway, on to something a little bit more interesting. I'm going to try and keep this... I don't know how short this video is probably going to be a pain. It's going to be a long one. Bear with me, but I'm excited because this buddy of mine that's also the electrician basically made me a deal I could not refuse, and I really do appreciate Mr. Matt. He's going to be coming over here to obviously help me out finishing up the electrical stuff, but his wife had gotten a hold of a whole bunch of HO gauge stuff. They didn't know what to do with it, and basically what he told me was, look, if there's stuff that you can use it. If then anything that you can't or you don't want, let's sell it and we'll split the profit. Okay, fine. So, with that being said, there is some unique stuff in here. I'm not going to probably go through every bit of it, but the stuff that I'm keeping. I'm going to be taking some pictures and probably putting up some stuff for sale. You'll see that. But stuff like this. This one here I'm holding on to. There's a couple of other rather unique pieces in here. I know everybody already saw the brass locomotive. I'm not going to touch that. I've actually got that in a neat little container here because it needs some help. It actually needs a lot of help. Did not know that AHM did this, but this is a rather unique. Of course, I opened it up from the wrong end. I actually found the box after I'd thrown the box out. Oops. It's a Lipton T car. Obviously, it's going to need some work to bring it up to a lot of railroad specs. But hey, you know, I like to tinker. It'll become a project. I actually have 4 of these little dudes for the Great Northern, which is cool. I've never had ore cars on the layout, so now I've got 4 ore cars. Or what? Even though it's not my era, it happens to be one of the home roads. I've got 4 Maryland and Pennsylvania passenger cars, old-time passenger cars. More than likely, if I can get that gem Camelback locomotive fixed, it'll probably pull those. This is something interesting. I hadn't heard of this company, but apparently they've been around for a while. They might actually still be in business. But it's a company called Train Miniatures. And what it is I think it's a set of 10 cars that I picked up, or that are in here. Each one of them is a different state. This one here happens to be Pennsylvania that I pulled out, but so I've got 10 of those. I don't know how many of them there actually were, but I've got 10. I wouldn't be surprised if there were supposed to be 50. Of course, and again, it could have been a bicentennial thing. It may have only been supposed to have been 13. But one of the cars needs doors, but that's something I can work on later on. Old Virginian outside braced boxcar. Everybody that pays or has watched knows I like to mess around with a lot of the East Coast railroads. This, I have to figure out exactly what kind of car this is. It's fairly fascinating to me, but it's from the Mid-Atlantic region, their 35th anniversary. It almost looks like a refrigerator car, but it's a little short. It's long, but it's not tall. It's short. So it's 50 foot long, but it's, the height's different. I've never seen cars like that, and that's not the only one. There's a couple of them I've got like that. This was cool. There is a set of 6 Chesapeake and Allegheny hopper cars. Now, if anybody watches from the Maryland area, they've heard of the Chesapeake and Allegheny. The Chesapeake and Allegheny is not an actual railroad. It is actually a model railroad down in Severna Park. It was actually featured, I believe, years and years ago when Alan Keller first started doing production for Model Railroader. I think it was layout tour number 4 it was on. And it was the last railroad that they did on that particular VHS. This is going back, I'm dating things, VHS tape. It shows you how long ago that was. I got a set of 3 Penline passenger cars for the Pennsylvania. Now, unfortunately, this one here is missing a truck. I'm going to have to do some digging to see if I can find a rear truck for that one. Here's another one of those cars that needs a little bit of help, but it's the first time I've seen one like this. I've seen them on other people's model railroads. I've never actually had one myself. It is a refrigerator car that the hatches open up. So, and apparently this is a fairly, I believe it's an Athearn because it's got spring-loaded trucks and it's got the bottom like an old Athearn. So, it's probably it might be a pre-blue box, but regardless, still a very unique piece. I was like, okay, I'll take that. Let's see here. What else have we got in here? Oh, yes. Here's another one of those funky refrigerator cars. This one here happens to be from the Western Fun Convention 1981 from the NMRA. So, like I said, I've got a couple of these, and I don't know why they're short. Dang it, I keep hitting the wheel of my chair keeps hitting the tripod. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can shift the tripod to where my wheel isn't going to hit it, and then I'll have to swing myself. Swing your partner? No, let's not go there. Let's see, what else have we got in here? That's another Chesapeake and Allegheny. That's the other 2. Sinclair. Everybody knows I like tank cars too. Eventually I'll have some place to run my tank cars. Old Mantua, Baltimore, Ohio, GP20. Love these locomotives. This will be the 3rd one of these that I've got. Of course, one of them, the frame shattered on it, but that's okay. Here's another one of those interesting little tidbits. That is actually an AHM BL2, which I've got a couple of these now, but this is the first one I've gotten marked for the Rock Island. Now, what's really fascinating is not only do I have that, I have an old Varney. I think this is an F7. But this is going to be interesting. I haven't messed with this locomotive. It does run. But as you can see, it's... sorry, it's a little dusty. It's an old Varney unit with the exposed gears. Obviously, it's not a good thing to be running if you're, you know, if you're not careful with what you're doing with the track. Let's see, what else have we got in here? Let's see what else we've got. Oh, yeah. Sunshine Region. 1979. Another tank car. There were actually 2 of these. One of those will be obviously put up for sale. I'm keeping one for myself. Mantua, Pennsylvania F7. I'm running out of room on my desk. I know it's not for real, you know, but hey, I don't have that many. This is, I believe, a SD40 or an SD40 TAC-2. It's a, this is actually an AHM unit. And it runs. Let's see what else we've got floating around in the box of goodies. Oh, yeah. And there's actually 2 of these, but they're different colors. This here is for the Wilson area model railroaders in Wilson, North Carolina. There's a gray one and a green one. I'm keeping them both. That was the gray one. I think the next thing in here is the, yeah, this is the gray, the green one. That was the gray, and there's the green. Alright, what else is in this box of goodies that is fascinating? I was about ready to hold it upside down. Season's greetings. Haven't seen one of those. I think it was 1978. Let's see, what else have we got in here? What was, oh yeah, that was, we've already seen that. That's the rail fund. I know what those are. We've already gone over the Maryland, Pennsylvania. We've gone over the Great Northern stuff. We've gone over the Carnation. I think this will be about the 6th one of these I'll have. I think I'm going to have to change some road numbers, because I think they're all numbered the same. But, oop, that's okay. I don't have any of those. I do now. always kind of like the Sioux line. Another railroad that's north of me, Pennsylvania and Shawmut, which is now just called the Shawmut line. It's a, obviously it's a coal hauler. Let's see. Mid-Continent region. These are interesting. There is a set of 4 Frisco boxcars, and each one of them is numbered differently. I'm holding on to these for myself, even though the Frisco is basically West Coast. Here's St. Louis and San Francisco, or St. Louis and San Francisco, I think is what it was. But that's okay. That's a unique set. I'll hold on to that. Washington Convention, 1982. There were 2 of these. The other one will be up for sale. What else have we got in this mess? Oh, that's another one of the Friscos. I think that's basically pretty much it. But this is the other reason why I decided to hold on to that Penline passenger set. Old dome passenger car. So now I'll have something to run behind the passenger locomotives, especially since I also have the A and the B. These here are both Penline units, and they both run. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what I picked up, along with a whole box of scenery stuff. I mean, there's a lot in there. I'm not going to go digging through that right now. Obviously, when I start doing something with the layout, you'll see that. So, pretty much the plan for tomorrow, is I'm going to go ahead and I'll finish up or change out those couple of outlets, finish up some other wiring, and then I'm going to start working on cutting some wood. I know across the back in that hidden area I need to be at 2 foot or less. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some of the wood back there. The interesting thing also was I did go, when I was over at my mother-in-law's for Thanksgiving, I did pick up the first turntable hole that I had drilled or made, and it fits in that corner. I just have to figure out exactly how it's going to fit in that corner. I may have to cut that board up a little bit, but that's fine. It's going to work the way I expected it to. I just have to figure out where the tracks are going to run. The other thing is I wasn't aware of it, that I had, when I had first put that layout together over there, I had actually brought it 1.5 inches away from the walls so that I could put a backdrop up. Well, all the backdrop 2x4s were still stacked in a corner in her storage area. Well, needless to say, I brought all those over as well. I'm going to I've talked myself out of it, talked myself into it, talked myself out of it, talked myself back into using 2x4s to hold up the backdrop. And everybody's probably like, what the heck do you need 2x4s to hold up a backdrop for? It's not going to be that heavy. Yeah, but depending on what kind of lighting I decide to put across the top of it, that's where the weight's going to come from. And I was concerned that 2x4s were going to bend or warp on me. But I've come up with a couple of plans to try and maybe alleviate that, but we'll see what happens. I have to, first things first, I got to get some plywood on here to see exactly what I'm going to do, because I'm going to do some elevations. I'm going to make some elevation changes. What I started in that corner was just basically an idea as to what I'm going to end up with, because obviously, like I've mentioned before, I'm not going to be putting the track right to the plywood again. I'm going to be putting down cork or Homosoap or something that's going to be a bit, but I'm going to go ahead and actually do it the right way, and not just tack it to the plywood. So there's going to be hills and movement and, you know, inclines and declines and all that other happy stuff in there. So, you know what? This video is probably going to be close to an hour long by the time I get done. I'm sorry. I apologize. You all know the deal. Wait for the high ball. Green tracks ahead. Be safe. God bless. See ya.